My husband originally had billionaire status, but his arch-nemesis framed him, leading to bankruptcy and leaving him with $1 million in debt. To help him pay it back, during the day I worked a delivery job, and at night I was forced to pour drinks at the lowest-end, grimiest nightclubs. Because of my incredible alcohol tolerance, the new manager gave me an exceptional promotion to an exclusive club to entertain clients. As I tried to plaster on a professional fake smile, adjusting my clothes and preparing to enter, I saw my husband, who was supposed to be working a delivery job in a rundown part of town, wearing a high-end custom suit worth hundreds of thousands. He was tenderly and lovingly fastening a jewelry necklace worth $200 million around his widowed sister-in-law, Eleanor's neck. And my 3 sons, Ethan, Liam, and Noah, were clapping excitedly around his widowed sister-in-law, Eleanor, shouting, "Mommy is so beautiful." His widowed sister-in-law, Eleanor, lowered her eyes, her voice a soft purr. "Robert, you're giving me such an expensive gift. Won't Sarah Miller be angry if she finds out?" When I was mentioned, Robert Davidson's face suddenly turned cold. "It's your birthday today. Don't mention that buzzkill." Meanwhile, his supposed arch-nemesis was fawning over them. "Don't worry, Eleanor. To make sure your birthday celebration isn't disturbed, Mr. Davidson already arranged for someone to break Sarah Miller's leg. She's laid up in bed right now. What's laughable is that she still has no idea those 3 little boys aren't her kids. She has only herself to blame for not watching her step and crossing Eleanor. Mr. Davidson was just helping Eleanor with her shoes, and she pushed her into the pool, nearly killing her. Everything that happened to her is Mr. Davidson's punishment." My nails dug into my palms, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. For a fabricated crime, Robert Davidson heartlessly punished me for 5 years. I desperately wanted to know, how long did he plan to keep this sickening charade going? The creditors were pressing hard. My leg was broken in a delivery accident, but after only 2 days of rest, I agreed to this entertainment job. Only because the pay was incredibly tempting, worth a week of drinking until I bled from my stomach at the nightclub. The glass door reflected my haggard, worn-out face, a harsh contrast to his widowed sister-in-law, Eleanor's vibrant beauty. I released my bleeding palm and numbly turned away, but then Robert Davidson's dangerously toned voice sounded from the room again. "Oh? You know about the 3 little boys? Tell me." I froze. I also wanted to know why the children I had painstakingly given birth to, risking my life, weren't my kids. David Lee wiped the sweat from his forehead. He knew he had talked too much, but he had to answer Robert Davidson's question. He stammered, "The oldest and second oldest boys are Thomas Davidson's offspring through IVF with Eleanor. The 3rd boy is you and Eleanor." David Lee didn't finish his sentence before he quickly and carefully chuckled. "Mr. Davidson, I'll punish myself. Don't worry, I won't say a word. If anyone else finds out, you can slice David Lee up." His words pierced my eardrums like ice picks, turning my blood to frost. I clamped my hand over my mouth, trembling uncontrollably. Back then, when Robert Davidson fell from his billionaire status, he became depressed and wanted to die. But his only regret was not leaving an heir for the Davidson family. He felt powerless and asked me to do IVF. Naive me, I thought having children might rekindle his hope for living, so I agreed without hesitation. Indeed, after I got pregnant, Robert Davidson's mood improved significantly, and he no longer had suicidal thoughts. Even though the pregnancy was incredibly difficult, vomiting uncontrollably every day, sleepless nights, and feet so swollen I couldn't walk. But for Robert Davidson, I felt it was all worth it. Yet, in the end, the 3 children I risked my life to give birth to weren't mine at all. How ironic. Before I even finished recovering from childbirth, Robert Davidson came home with a bruised face again, claiming the creditors had beaten him. If he didn't pay soon, they'd cut off his hands next time. Robert Davidson clutched a flyer for a nightclub hiring hostesses, enduring immense humiliation and planning to give it a try. But the flyer clearly stated they only hired women. Seeing his increasingly haggard face, my heart ached. I snatched the flyer and went to apply. The next day, I was notified that I was hired and began the days of pouring glass after glass of alcohol down my throat. First, he made me endure the hardship of carrying triplets, then lured me to the lowest-end nightclub, where I had to drink until I bled from my stomach just to earn a meager income. Tears fell silently. "Robert Davidson, wasn't the price you made me pay for your punishment too cruel? Alright, don't scare the children. Sarah Miller's reckless drinking has already paid back $900,000 of the debt. Find something else for her to do, don't let her earn money so easily." She caused Eleanor to be hospitalized for 7 days back then, so she should be punished for 7 years. Drag it out for another 2 years. Yes, I'll arrange everything perfectly for Mr. Davidson, so she won't suspect anything. My heart felt like it was being slowly cut by a dull knife, the pain unbearable. Clutching my chest, I backed away step by step until I could no longer hear the devilish voices from inside. I didn't leave the club. Instead, I limped to a corner and hid. On the way, Robert Davidson sent me a text message. Honey, the boss wants me to work overtime delivering water. I'll be back late. I'll bring the kids home to see you. Love you. 3 hours later, they walked out hand in hand, holding the children, looking like a perfect, happy family. The jewelry necklace on Eleanor's neck was particularly eye-catching, drawing glances from everyone around. I had seen that necklace at a live-streamed auction. A mysterious billionaire had bought it for a sky-high price of $200 million, saying it was for the woman he loved most. I remembered staring at that necklace like I was acting like a lovesick fool, my face full of envy. I wonder which woman is so lucky. Her husband must love her very much. Robert Davidson paused for a moment, his expression turning gentle as he nodded. Maybe. I took a taxi and followed their car, heading towards the Davidson estate/Skyline Ridge. I had always thought that after the Davidson family went bankrupt, his widowed sister-in-law, Eleanor, had returned to her family. I never imagined he had kept her in luxury in Riverside City, fictional's most extravagant villa district. It was hard to imagine what it felt like for Robert Davidson, who was used to living in mansions, to squeeze into that dilapidated rental with me, a place that couldn't even be called a home, without a proper dining table. The butler led a group of housekeepers out to greet them. Because of my upside-down life, I had almost no time to take care of the newborn children. Robert Davidson suggested sending the children to the butler's home to be fostered. That way, we would only need to pay a little for food each month, which would reduce expenses and free up time to earn money. I was afraid the butler was too old to take care of 3 infants, but he insisted on sending them. It turned out they weren't sent to the butler to be fostered, but to their birth mother. Robert Davidson personally got out of the car to open the door for Eleanor, gently shielding her head, afraid she would hit the car roof. After getting out, he kept his arm around the slightly tipsy Eleanor the entire time. The way he looked at her was deep with affection and longing. No one seemed surprised by their behavior as uncle and sister-in-law, as if it were perfectly normal. Half an hour later, Robert Davidson and the 3 children finally came out of the villa, having changed into worn-out clothes. They reluctantly hugged and said goodbye to Eleanor. My lips were bleeding from biting them. Choking back tears, I ordered the driver to turn around and hurried away. Returning to the dingy apartment, which was so bare it didn't even have a dining table besides the bed, I collapsed onto the bed and wept loudly. When Robert Davidson came home, the 3 children were already asleep. He knelt in front of me, took my hands, and his face was full of concern. Honey, you're crying? Is your leg hurting too much? I got paid today. I bought you some painkillers. Take one quickly, don't try to tough it out. It breaks my heart. Robert Davidson's concern didn't seem faked. If I hadn't seen that scene with my own eyes, if the scent of Eleanor's perfume hadn't still lingered on him, I might have actually believed him. How ridiculous. This pain was nothing compared to 5 years of humiliation and mockery. Honey, I saw a dress today. It was $99 after the discount. My birthday is coming up soon too. Can you buy it for me as a gift? Robert Davidson froze, looking guilty as he lowered his head. Honey, you know our situation. Is a dress for $99 too expensive? I can't even make that much working a delivery job for a day. He could give Eleanor a necklace worth $200 million, but he thought a $99 dress for me was too expensive. Love and lack of love are truly obvious. Tears welled up in my eyes. With a hoarse voice, I continued to probe. Then let's not send the kids away. Can we keep them with us? We only see them once a week. I miss them. The concern in Robert Davidson's eyes vanished, but he still patiently tried to persuade me. Honey, what's wrong with you today? I understand how you feel, but right now, the debt hasn't been paid off. Even if we pinch pennies, our monthly expenses are considerable. We really don't have the capacity to take care of the children. I don't want you to have to take care of them when you're already so exhausted. It's my fault for being useless. When the debt is paid off, I'll definitely bring them back, okay? He wasn't afraid I'd be exhausted taking care of the children, he just didn't want them to leave Eleanor and make her sad. Seeing that I didn't argue back, Robert Davidson secretly sighed in relief. Then he smiled and pulled a squashed small cake out of his worn-out fanny pack. Honey, look what I brought you. Your favorite small cake. I was working a delivery job today, and a customer was having a birthday, so they gave me one. Try it quickly, it's really sweet. I used to love these little desserts the most. For years, I don't know how many times I had swallowed hard just looking at the small cakes in dessert shops, but I could never bring myself to buy one. I scooped a spoonful into my mouth and chewed it slowly. It was bitter. Because I had forced myself to walk last night, my leg injury was worse. Robert Davidson was making breakfast in the kitchen, and I leaned against the headboard, watching the 3 children play. We spent half a day with the kids each week. We had picked them up last night, and today at noon, we had to send them away. They were called triplets, but the oldest and second oldest looked more like twins. The third one looked clearly different from them at first glance. I had been confused before, but after hearing David Lee's words, I finally understood why. That's why the 3 children never called me mommy, but instead called me Sarah. It made sense now. I had always thought it was because I hadn't fulfilled my responsibility to care for them that they were distant from me. It turned out that in their understanding, Eleanor was their mommy, and I was just the vessel who had given birth to them. Until yesterday, I had been trying to correct their way of addressing me. But Robert Davidson didn't take it seriously and joked, "Your last name is Miller. Calling you Sarah is fine, isn't it?" Indeed, there was no problem with it. Only when the children were home did we eat meat. A boiled egg in the morning and a small plate of stir-fried meat at noon was the most luxurious meal of the week. To save money, I tried to stretch every dollar as far as it could go. A packet of instant noodles was my food for the day. I'd eat the noodles in the morning and drink the leftover soup for lunch. In the evening, I'd snag a couple pieces of fruit at the nightclub to stave off hunger. I had lived like this for 5 full years. From a blooming beauty and socialite, I had become looked years older than her age, with a sallow complexion and gaunt figure, looking 10 years older than women my age. Before this day, I would have been incredibly happy, but today I couldn't muster any enthusiasm. Eating felt like chewing wax. After lunch, Robert Davidson hurriedly sent the 3 children away, saying he had to continue working a delivery job in the afternoon. He glanced at my swollen leg, like a radish, and the words, "Go to the nightclub," got stuck in his throat. But as soon as he left, the newly appointed manager called. My unexplained absence last night had caused him to be severely chewed out by the big boss. Tonight, a client specifically requested me to entertain them. If I didn't go to work, he would be fired because of me. He had meant well, but I had dragged him down. My heart ached for him, so I could only go, leaning on a wooden stick. Anyway, Robert Davidson wasn't bro. Cool, and I didn't need to risk my life drinking to pay off his debt anymore. It was probably time to quit this job. Once my leg healed, I'd leave. I didn't have the power to retaliate against these capitalists. I could only pretend the past 5 years had been a sickening nightmare. The manager looked at me with a complicated expression. "Sarah Miller, did you offend the big boss? Go in there and apologize properly, don't be defiant." I shook my head. In the nearly 5 years I had worked here, I had never seen the big boss. How could I have offended him? I limped into the private room. The air was thick with smoke, and in the dim light, a crowd of men sat around. When I saw that the man sitting in the main seat was David Lee, my heart seized up. I instinctively turned to flee. So he was the big boss. No, Robert Davidson was the real boss behind the scenes. I suddenly remembered his promise to Robert Davidson, and a chill ran down my spine. As soon as my hand touched the doorknob, 2 men grabbed me, dragged me in front of David Lee, and roughly threw me onto the sofa. The men's lewd eyes crawled all over me, as if they wanted to devour me whole. One man roughly pulled me into his embrace, sneering, "Trying to run as soon as you get here? What's that supposed to mean, little lady? I hear you can really drink. We boys came specifically to have a few with you today." I panicked and pushed him desperately. "Let go of me, I'm not feeling well today, I can't drink." The crowd roared with laughter. "Tony, she's disrespecting you." The man suddenly slapped me. The corner of my mouth split open and bled instantly. "You bitch, don't play hard to get. What's the difference between working here and selling yourself? Stop pretending with me." The man said this while tearing off his own shirt and then trying to rip off my clothes. David Lee watched coldly from the shadows the entire time, as the sounds of cheering and catcalls echoed around. Seeing my clothes about to be torn to shreds, I grabbed a bottle of red wine from the coffee table and smashed it hard on the man's head. The man clutched his head and wailed. Whether it was red wine or blood, it covered his face. Another man clicked his tongue and shook his head. "My $300,000 red wine just went to waste? Little lady, what are you going to do about it?" It was clearly cheap red wine, costing less than $10 per bottle, but he dared to claim it was worth $300,000. So, this was David Lee's plan? I had fallen into their trap after all. My teeth ground together. He started it. I did nothing wrong and I won't pay. David Lee didn't even bother to waste words on me. With a wave of his hand, his subordinates dragged Robert Davidson out of the restroom. Get on your knees and apologize to my brothers, and pay $50,000, and I'll drop this. Otherwise, I'll break your beloved husband's hands so he can't even lift a water bucket. $50,000. That was more than I could pay back in 2 years. Robert Davidson, you're truly ruthless. I was about to agree, just to see how far they would take this act. But Robert Davidson quickly pleaded with me, honey, just agree to them. I can't become disabled. I gave a bitter laugh. Robert Davidson, does he dare? Is it fun to toy with me? Robert Davidson froze, seeming to try and understand the meaning behind my words. Suddenly, a man kicked the back of my injured leg. A bone-deep pain shot through me. I cried out in pain as my knees hit the floor. They held my hands down and forced a heavy handprint onto a promissory note for $50,000. I lay on the ground in despair, unable to move, wanting to call out to Robert Davidson to save me. But his phone rang. It was Eleanor. Eleanor cried into the phone, Robert, I twisted my ankle, it hurts so much. Robert Davidson's expression turned anxious. He hung up the phone and rushed out of the private room without a second glance. He didn't even look at me once. In the end, the manager called a car to take me to the hospital. On the way, I opened Eleanor's social media feed. She had posted a picture of a man rubbing her ankle. The caption, "You are always my greatest support." I closed my eyes in despair, tears streaming down. When I came to, the doctor had already put a cast on my leg. I looked up to thank him and realized the person in front of me looked familiar. The motorcycle delivery guy? How are you, a doctor? The last time I was hit, it was him who had helped me, given me basic treatment, and taken me to the hospital entrance. I was worried about the money, so I went home after he left and just endured it, biting my lip. The man rolled his eyes at me and said impatiently, you broke a bone and you're still trying to tough it out. Do you want to lose this leg? Where's your husband? I lowered my head and said softly, he's dead. I'm alone now. The man froze, his face awkward, and his voice softened. That sudden, huh? How can you recover being so thin? You need to eat well, you know. His tone was complaining, but it was all for my own good. These past few years, I had tasted enough hidden barbs within sweet words. Suddenly, someone was being nice to me, and the tears started flowing uncontrollably. The kind-hearted doctor helped me into a wheelchair. There's a good restaurant across the street from the hospital. Go buy yourself something nice to eat. No. I instinctively wanted to refuse. Saving money to pay off debt had become the top priority ingrained in my bones. Biting my tongue until it bled, I swallowed the words I hadn't spoken and replied with a smile, okay. It was the first time in 5 years I had bought myself a hot meal with meat and soup. As I wheeled myself away, I saw Robert Davidson at a dining table less than 2 meters away, dotingly wiping a grain of rice from Eleanor's lips. I stopped abruptly, almost tripping the customer behind me. What's wrong with you, cripple? You almost spilled that hot soup all over me. His loud scolding drew everyone's attention, including Robert Davidson's. When our eyes met, I saw the panic in his. Eleanor tilted her head back haughtily, showing off the sparkling jewelry necklace on her chest, her eyes full of provocation. Even though I had told myself to let go, seeing this scene felt like a heavy blow to my chest, the pain unbearable. I pointed at the necklace. You were the mysterious billionaire buyer that day, weren't you? No matter how hard or tired I was over the years, I had bitten my lip and endured it, never shedding a tear in front of him. But now, all the grievances surged up at the most inappropriate time. Tears fell uncontrollably, like a flood. Robert Davidson, don't you have anything to explain to me? Robert Davidson's face turned pale. How ridiculous. What was I still hoping for? Heartbroken, I turned to leave, but Robert Davidson grabbed the wheelchair, his voice trembling. Honey, listen to me, let me explain. Behind me, Eleanor suddenly tripped a chair, clutching her leg, tears welling up in her eyes. Robert, my foot, oh, it hurts. Honey, it's not what you think. Go home and wait for me, I'll explain everything. Robert Davidson finished quickly, then pulled a check from his suit pocket. Or go shopping. Buy whatever you want, don't try to save my money. With that, he turned and scooped Eleanor into his arms, rushing towards the hospital. There was nothing wrong with Eleanor's foot. After leaving the hospital, she clung to Robert Davidson, asking him to take her out for a bit. Robert Davidson seemed to think of something and took her to Riverside City. Fictional's most luxurious international mall. They spent the afternoon shopping. Robert Davidson bought 2 designer dresses worth $200,000 and several Hermes bags. Eleanor was beaming shyly. You already gave me such an expensive necklace, you don't need to buy these things too. Robert Davidson's gaze fell on a bracelet worth $1 million. He said nonchalantly, these aren't for you. They're for Sarah Miller. Even though I gave her a check, she'll definitely be reluctant to spend my money recklessly. I've been thinking, her punishment has been enough all these years. It's time to bring her home. The smile on Eleanor's face froze instantly, turning sinister and malicious where Robert Davidson couldn't see. In the evening, Robert Davidson came home with large shopping bags, an excited smile on his face. The wooden door, which wasn't very sturdy to begin with, hung precariously open. Honey, I'm home. Look what I brought you. Robert Davidson's words trailed off. The gift bags in his hand fell to the floor with a thud, and the smile on his face instantly turned into panic and terror. The house was a chaotic mess, scattered with junk that looked like the trash heap downstairs. Robert Davidson instinctively lunged towards me, scooping me up from the pool of blood. His voice was trembling uncontrollably. Honey, what's wrong? Wake up, honey, don't scare me. Blood, why is there so much blood? Honey, I've already forgiven you, I was going to bring you home. Why would you do this? I regret it, I shouldn't have punished you like this. Honey, you can't leave me. The deep, bone-deep cut on my wrist stung Robert Davidson's eyes. He never imagined that merely deceiving me once would drive me to attempt suicide by cutting my wrist. My vision was blurred, I couldn't make out his face. But I could feel his body trembling violently, and warm tears dripping onto my face. In my memory, Robert Davidson had never been this panicked and helpless. Perhaps he truly regretted it, but I no longer cared. I wanted to open my mouth and tell him I hadn't tried to kill myself. But I didn't even have the strength to open my eyes. He roared for an ambulance, threw down his phone, and held me tightly in his arms. My body grew colder and colder, but in my mind, I clearly saw the first time I met Robert Davidson. At that time I was a motorcycle racer. Robert Davidson confessed he had fallen in love with me at first sight, saying he liked girls who were spirited and rebellious like me. I had seen enough of these spoiled rich kids and had never given him the time of day. Later, he spent 3 years trying every way to win me over, even breaking ties with his parents for me. On his 99th marriage proposal, my heart was moved. On his 108th marriage proposal, I resolutely agreed to marry him. I still remember him with red eyes, kissing my fingertips with a happy face, vowing to love only me, forever and always. After we were married, he treated me like royalty. Everyone envied me for marrying true love. Yet, this very person, who had loved me so deeply, tortured me in the cruelest way for a fabricated crime, for 5 years. 5 years, the 5 years that should have been the most beautiful of my life. Tears silently fell. In endless resentment and regret, I completely fell into unconsciousness. Are you the doctor or am I? The patient has 3 broken ribs. She was clearly beaten. How could it be suicide? What? Sarah isn't a suicide, but was beaten within an inch of her life and then staged as a suicide? Robert Davidson clenched his fists, they crackled. Humph, at least you're not completely stupid. Just then, rapid footsteps sounded, and the hospital room door was violently pushed open. David Lee's face was pale, unable to look Robert Davidson in the eye. Mr. Davidson, we found T.W. Oh, suspicious men. Mrs. Davidson maybe, no, it wasn't suicide. Robert Davidson shot up, knocking over a chair, his voice terrifyingly cold. I want to see who dares to lay a hand on someone who belongs to me. The hospital room suddenly fell silent. After a long while, a sigh came from above my head. All right, stop pretending to be asleep. Your husband, who came back from the dead, has left. Why is it every time I see you, you're covered in injuries? This time you almost lost your life. I fluttered my eyelids and slowly opened my eyes. I weakly curved my lips. Thank you, doctor. You saved my life again. Indeed. If I had been half an hour later, you would have bled to death. Your husband almost drained himself of blood trying to pull you back from the gates of hell. I listened calmly as he recounted the dangers of last night, but there wasn't a ripple in my heart. Even if Robert Davidson had risked his life to save me, I wouldn't be grateful. The man pulled down his mask and extended his right hand. Hello, Sarah Miller. Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Dr. Michael Sterling. I'm a professor of surgery at this hospital and also a motorcycle enthusiast. Working a delivery job on a motorcycle is a way for me to de-stress. You can call me Dr. Sterling, or you can call me Mikey. I wanted to shake his hand, but I couldn't lift it at all. Tears welled up in my eyes. Am I paralyzed? Mikey slapped his forehead. Oh, right. I forgot the anesthetic hasn't worn off yet. You can't move. He smiled and bent down to shake my hand. Actually, I recognized you a long time ago. You were the champion of the International Moto Challenge at Speedway X, fictional race event, 5 years ago, Sarah Miller. Your high-speed drift and tail slide were absolutely amazing. You're my idol. Teach me sometime, okay? You really have no medical ethics. I'm like this, and you're still in TH. Mood to talk about racing. Mikey raised an eyebrow. Alright, we'll talk about it when you're better. Get some rest. Mikey turned to leave, and I quickly called out to him. Mikey, wait. Can you do your idol a favor? Mikey bared his teeth. Hey, you're not being shy at all. Alright. Seeing how pitiful you are, tell me, what do you want me to do? When Robert Davidson came back, he took a phone call outside the hospital room. They still won't reveal the mastermind? They're really tough nuts to crack. Keep beating them until they talk. Robert Davidson hung up the phone, adjusted his expression, and walked in. Seeing me awake, a trace of joy appeared on his pale face. He quickly walked closer, cupped my face, and kissed my forehead. That's great, honey. You're finally awake. You scared me to death. I turned my face away and took out the divorce agreement that Mikey had helped me print from the bedside table, handing it to him. Robert Davidson, let's get a divorce. I'll grant you and Eleanor your wish. Robert Davidson smiled and rubbed the top of my head, looking as if he didn't care at all. Honey, don't say such angry things. There's nothing going on between me and Eleanor. She twisted her ankle, I just took her to the hospital. I swatted his hand away, my expression serious. Robert Davidson, how long do you plan to keep lying to me? I already know everything. Robert Davidson's body stiffened, and his fists unconsciously clenched. You know what? Robert Davidson frowned, staring intently into my eyes, as if hoping I had only caught them eating together. In that case, he might still have a chance to salvage things. I gave a bitter laugh and deliberately slowed my voice. I know you're not broke. I also know that my suffering over the past 5 years was all your punishment for me because of Eleanor. You orchestrated my leg being broken in the delivery accident just so you could comfortably spend Eleanor's birthday with her. Robert Davidson's eyes widened, his face turning incredibly pale. To prevent me from paying off the debt, you and David Lee staged that scene, forcing me to kneel and sign the promissory note. With every sentence I spoke, Robert Davidson's face grew paler. The intense hatred in my eyes made his heart tremble. I also know that none of those 3 children are mine. As I finished speaking, his strong back slumped. He looked at me with shattered eyes. Honey, He raised his hand and slapped himself hard twice, then knelt beside my bed. Honey, I was confused back then and did a lot of stupid things to hurt you. Now I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, come home with me, okay? I thought I would scream and vent 5 years of anger and resentment at him. But on the day I faced the truth, I was unusually calm, too calm to waste a single word on him. Robert Davidson, some hurts cannot be forgiven. Besides divorce, I won't give you a second option. Robert Davidson looked hurt. He grabbed my hand, shaking his head in disbelief. No, I won't divorce you. I know you're just having a hard time accepting it and throwing a tantrum. You love me so much, how could you bear to divorce me? Honey, please give me a chance to make amends. I pulled my hand away and looked up at him. Even if I loved you, that love has been completely consumed by the truth of your repeated deceptions. Robert Davidson, I don't love you anymore. Shut up. Robert Davidson suddenly stood up, punching the wall. Blood dripped from his knuckles. He gritted his teeth, his expression turning vicious. He casually tore up the divorce agreement and roared, You love me. How could you not love me? I know I made mistakes. I'm a bastard, worse than an animal, that's why I'm apologizing to you humbly. Honey, tell me what I need to do for you to forgive me? As long as you're willing to forgive me, I'll do anything you ask. As he spoke, tears streamed down his face. When I saw you lying in a pool of blood, I was so afraid I would lose you. I regret it, I truly regret it. I want to make it up to you. I'd tear my heart out and give it to you if I could. Honey, I love you. I can't live without you. My chest felt like it was being squeezed by a venomous snake, the immense feeling of suffocation almost drowning me. Why should he get to simply move his lips, say a few words of self-reproach and apology, and expect to make up for 5 years of harming me? There's no such wicked thing in this world. My fingers unconsciously dug into the bedsheet. Get out! Get out of here! Hearing the commotion, Dr. Michael Sterling rushed in, pointing at Robert Davidson and scolding, "What's wrong with you? If you keep upsetting the patient like this, she could die of a heart attack." Robert Davidson stood stubbornly by the bed, his chest rising and falling. After a long silence, Robert Davidson's phone rang again. He answered it, and David Lee's voice came from the other end. "They still won't name the mastermind? They're really tough nuts, but, who? Who is it? Speak up, damn it. It's Eleanor." Robert Davidson swayed, reaching out to steady himself against the wall. He didn't dare look me in the eye. Before leaving, he handed me a tablet and headphones. "There's a private auction tonight. I've had someone stream it live to you. Bid on whatever you like, it doesn't matter how much it costs. I have something to deal with. I'll come back to be with you later." What suffocating love. Good thing I'm not the marrying type. Dr. Michael Sterling looked at me sympathetically, his gaze fixed on the shredded divorce agreement on the floor. "Looks like this didn't help you much. Mikey, can you do your idol another favor, please? Help me get away from that parasite." After I finished explaining my plan, Mikey grumbled at me, baring his teeth. "You call that a favor?" He started counting on his fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, "You're really pushing it. You're treating me like your errand boy." I smiled weakly. The esteemed son of the Sterling Pharmaceuticals Group, the eldest grandson of the Sterling family who owns the largest healthcare system in Riverside City, fictional. A small favor like this isn't difficult, is it? You looked into me? With a plan this big, I have to make sure it's foolproof. Just tell me, do you still want to learn high-speed drifting or not? Mikey cursed under his breath as he left the room. That night, Robert Davidson's assistant came to the hospital room and streamed the auction live to me. "Mrs. Davidson, Mr. Davidson instructed that whatever you like at tonight's auction, no matter the price, he will get it for you." I didn't intend to humor him, but Robert Davidson sent me a video that was half an hour long, which changed my mind. I casually picked 2 antiques to appease him. It wasn't until the auction ended and the assistant left that I mustered the courage to watch the entire video. In the video, Eleanor was beaten until her face was bruised and swollen, blood streaming from her nose and mouth. She lay on the ground like a dead dog, the faint movement of her body proving she was still alive. Then Robert Davidson arrived, squatting down and lifting Eleanor's face with his finger. When Eleanor saw it was him, she burst into tears, full of grievance. "Robert, I knew you'd come for me. Kill them, help me kill them." Robert Davidson scoffed and raised his hand, slapping her face hard. "I was the one who told them to teach you a lesson. Do you want to kill me now?" Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief. "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" Robert Davidson stood up, his black leather shoe stepping on her head, his voice fierce and cruel. "Because you almost killed Sarah Miller. You should be grateful she's still alive. Otherwise, you'd be a corpse right now." Eleanor grabbed his leg, her eyes bloodshot. "You clearly love me. Why are you treating me like this for that slut?" "Love you?" Robert Davidson's voice was chilling. "Eleanor, do you have some kind of delusion? I was only fulfilling my brother's dying wish to look after you a little, and you dared to try and seduce me. If you hadn't been sowing discord, how could I have done so many irreparable things to Sarah Miller?" Robert Davidson's face became increasingly distorted. "That hussy's mouth is too filthy. How dare she curse Sarah Miller? Cut out her tongue." Eleanor's world completely collapsed. Amidst her heart-wrenching wails, I covered my eyes, unable to watch any longer. After the video, Robert Davidson sent me a voice message. "Honey, I got revenge for you. Can you forgive me now?" The hairs on my body stood on end, my back soaked with cold sweat. Robert Davidson seemed to have gone mad. The next day, Robert Davidson brought the 2 antiques from the auction to the hospital. Behind him was a half-dead Eleanor. She no longer had her usual glamour, her haughty demeanor gone. Entering the hospital room, before Robert Davidson could say anything, she dropped to her knees in front of me. She cowed out frantically, making sorrowful sounds. Soon, pools of blood flowed from her forehead. Robert Davidson's face had a warm smile, completely different from the expression he had yesterday. "Honey, so you like this kind of stuff? My dad has tons of them. I'll go round them all up for you." I instinctively shrank back towards the corner of the bed, pointing at Eleanor. "Tell her to stop kowtowing." Robert Davidson didn't care at all, saying casually, "This is what she deserves. Do and feel sorry for her. But the one who truly deserved retribution was you, Robert Davidson." Eleanor didn't stop until she had kowtowed until she fainted. Seeing Robert Davidson act like this, I didn't defy him anymore and passively allowed him to do as he pleased. 2 months later, when I could get out of bed, Robert Davidson excitedly held my hand. "Honey, you can finally leave the hospital. Come home with me, I'll make you the sole mistress of the Davidson family." I nodded obediently. "Honey, is my motorcycle still here? I haven't touched it in 5 years. I want to take it out for a ride when I leave the hospital." In 5 years, I had worked a delivery job for 4 of them, using a second-hand electric scooter. Robert Davidson must have been experiencing the thrill of getting something back after losing it, so he wouldn't spoil my mood today. Soon, the motorcycle I loved the most was brought to the hospital entrance. My discharge procedures were just completed. I got on the motorcycle and rode towards the mountain road 80 kilometers away. Robert Davidson followed me in 2 cars. As I entered the mountainous area, I sped up, gradually shaking off the 2 trailing cars. The curves ahead became steeper and steeper. Just as I was nearing my destination, I connected my Bluetooth and called Dr. Michael Sterling. "Mikey, watch closely. Your idol's only doing this once." The motorcycle reached an astonishing 280 kilometers per hour. With a beautiful high-speed drift, I released my hands, separating from the bike. I fell into the safety net that Dr. Michael Sterling had set up in advance. The motorcycle plunged into the cliff with a loud crash. The cars behind me were also speeding up. I seemed to see a hysterical Robert Davidson. I gasped and climbed to the ground. The safety net was quickly pulled into a van, which sped away from the scene. "Mikey, thank you. The rest is up to you." I got into another sports car that had been waiting for me, grabbed the money I had transferred earlier, and drove away. By the time I had sailed across the ocean to the other side, it had been over half a month since I faked my death and escaped. At first, videos of Robert Davidson's breakdown and despair circulated widely online. He knelt at the scene, crying uncontrollably without regard for his status, muttering apologies to himself. No one could pull him away. This touched the hearts of netizens, who left messages like, "The true romantics are only born into rich and powerful families," saying its value was still rising. But now, the news about Robert Davidson searching for me day and night had slowly died down. Experts analyzed that since thermal imaging couldn't find me, it meant I had no vital signs. Falling from such a high cliff, I must have been smashed to pieces. Robert Davidson had to accept the fact that I was gone. Dr. Michael Sterling occasionally sent me messages, cursing Robert Davidson as crazy, saying that just days after I left, Robert Davidson was indulging in nightclubs every night. He had gone through girlfriend after girlfriend. But what was interesting was that each of his girlfriends, more or less, had some resemblance to me. Perhaps he really regretted it, but what did that matter now? I could never forgive him for the pain he had inflicted on me in this lifetime. Half a year later, I heard the news that Robert Davidson had been murdered and dismembered. The killer was Eleanor. The heinous nature of the crime shocked the entire country. Through the police report, I learned that after I left, Robert Davidson hadn't let Eleanor go. Instead, he had locked her in the basement and tormented her daily. He vented all the pain and anger from losing me onto Eleanor. One day, the 3 children wanted their mother, and Robert Davidson couldn't refuse, so he let Eleanor out for a moment. She seized the opportunity to take a kitchen knife. When Robert Davidson was abusing her again, Eleanor stabbed him over a dozen times with the kitchen knife. Long-term resentment had already twisted her psychologically. While Robert Davidson was not yet completely dead, she began to dismember his body. Robert Davidson was tortured to death. Eleanor was ultimately sent to a psychiatric hospital, receiving lifelong imprisonment. Regarding their fate, I can only say that karma eventually comes calling. It's not that retribution doesn't come, it's just that the time hasn't arrived yet. Dr. Michael Sterling asked if I wanted to return to the country. He said he could help me change my appearance and get a new identity. Later, motorcycle enthusiasts would often see 2 figures chasing each other endlessly, active on various motorcycle racetracks.